What is myopia? Myopia is a common eye defect in humans, primarily affecting distant vision while maintaining good near vision. Ophthalmologists explain that excessive use of near vision compared to far vision poses a higher risk of developing or increasing myopia. On the other hand, those who spend more time outdoors and focus on distant objects, such as farmers or field workers, tend to have better distance vision than those living in closed environments and working in offices. This is what is happening with the changes occurring in Argentina, a society that developed an enormous capacity to adapt to a constantly changing reality, living daily with uncertainty and having to figure out how to adapt each day, but without the possibility of making plans for the years ahead. This routine of many years managed to install another pandemic, that of political, economic, and cultural myopia. Part of the population cannot see clearly 10 years into the future, barely glimpsing the upcoming week or month, and with a certain uncertainty. For many myopic individuals, it is still inexplicable that in a country dominated by traditional political parties and an all-encompassing Peronist doctrine, a person who suddenly appeared on television programs, formed a political party just 2 years ago without a background in the public sector, was allowed to become president with a significant majority of votes. They did not see it coming, and when they distinguished it with their blurry vision, it was already unstoppable. Those in power were so short-sighted that they only sought to secure continuity in government to obtain judicial immunity, protecting them from the progress of corruption-related legal cases. They were so focused on the immediate that they had no government plan, and so went the entire term of former President Fernandez, with improvisations on the fly in all aspects. His entire administration was day-to-day and myopic. We are witnessing it now. The situation they left the country in was already very bad and was worsened by a true squandering of expenses and unbacked monetary issuance by former economy minister Sergio Massa, who was running for president and eventually lost against Milei, leaving a real-time bomb to defuse. The new president, already aware of what he inherited and prepared for it, launched an unprecedented set of measures in the first days in the form of emergency decrees and a package of laws to Congress, including a labor reform and modernization that alarmed union sectors that could lose part of their income if members are granted the freedom to choose. They viewed the measures myopically and quickly organized a general strike to propose overturning the measures and keeping everything the same, claiming to defend workers' rights. The union leaders saw no opportunities in the measures, only threats. A union leadership that has been perpetuating itself in its positions for over 30 years, defending its own personal privileges at the expense of workers, and identified with the figure of a former president who ruled the country from 1946 to 1955 and from 1973 to 1975, named Juan Perón, whom they believe they owe their union existence to. The world turns and technology advances faster and faster, shaping new scenarios that must be interpreted to adapt the productive matrix of a society, and a country that does not keep pace is left behind in the market. One must be attentive, informed, and looking ahead. In 1982, the internet was invented. In the 90s, mobile phones arrived. With the new millennium came the first smartphones. In 2004, Facebook. In 2009, WhatsApp. In 2012, online banking. And now we have artificial intelligence, and nothing will be the same as before. Changes are currently happening on an exponential scale, and with all this, we have a true revolution in the labor market, thanks to the possibility of remote work, the development and growth of communications, and globalization. No one disputes this, and new generations have it incorporated as something normal. Now, imagine being ideologically and politically anchored to the figure of a person who governed Argentina in 1946 and 73 and trying to vindicate his postulates in this era. It's not a challenge, it makes no sense. We must look forward, not backward. The Peronist movement has a great future ahead. The union challenge lies in creating new categories, understanding labor realities, and supporting investments by contributing the most valuable asset of a company, human resources. They must stop singing "Fighting the Capital," as the Peronist March says, to find ways to create genuine employment along SMEs so that better quality products and services can be sold to the domestic market and also aspire to enter the modern and technological world. This union leadership cannot distinguish the enormous opportunities for change occurring in such a dynamic economic matrix to join in designing projects compatible with the needs of the business, commercial, and entrepreneurial sectors. They could easily double the mass of the scarce 6 million impoverished salaried workers represented by all unions together and improve social benefits so that workers choose to join them, since the unionization rate is decreasing much more than employment. But no, they feel threatened, and their only response is strikes, blockades, marches, and drums. In his own speech, Pablo Moyano, in his belief that he represents workers, mentioned Perón several times and ended up attacking two Argentine entrepreneurs, Paolo Roca of Tequint and Diego Galperin of Mercado Libre. They may criticize both, but the former has 55,000 employees, of which 20,000 are in Argentina, and the latter, counting direct and indirect employment, reached 50,000 jobs throughout the region and continued to grow. But he had to move to another country, crossing to Uruguay, where they saw better business prospects, and instead of fighting him, they offered better conditions for continued growth. The country needs more visionary entrepreneurs generating employment and fewer uneducated unionists hindering development to sustain themselves in eternal positions without providing any genuine benefit to society. And if the state should do anything to make everything work better, it is to create the best environment for the former and contain the latter so that they do not hinder the rest of the productive network that wants to grow, with their lack of vision for national opportunities. Fortunately for everyone, science has advanced, and all those suffering from myopia can solve their problem with surgery or with eyeglasses that allow extending vision and broadening horizons. When myopia is of political or ideological origin, the only solution is to open the mind to new ideas and understand where the world is heading. Argentina is a country with a highly recognized capacity level in Latin America, so much so that there are already 13 Argentine origin companies considered unicorns because they have exceeded a valuation of $1 billion US in less than 10 years since their creation. These companies are SoFi Technologies, Mercado Libre, Globant, Despegar, OLX, Otho, Aleph, Vercel, Mural, Bitfarms, Uala, Tiendanube, Satellogic. Brazil leads the unicorn podium in Latin America with a total of 22 companies. Argentina is in second place with 13. The rest of the Latin American unicorns belong to Mexico, Colombia, Chile, and Uruguay. The region has a recognized potential for the growth and development of startups and unicorn companies. 60% of the investments received by these companies come from external capitals attracted by their return on investment, and most foreign investment is made in dollars or euros, making it much more profitable for investors when applying the exchange rate in each Latin American country. Argentina's potential is enormous. If we can visualize that Brazil, with over 200 million inhabitants, has 22 unicorn companies, and Argentina, with only 46 million people, has 13, it is evident that the entrepreneurial ecosystem works well and should be promoted, preventing companies from leaving due to the labor framework, union pressure, the lawsuit industry, and excessive tax burden. A report from KPMG Argentina states that the value of the ecosystem created by national technology companies, exceeds $125 billion. Although the entire continent has become more attractive to investors, a common obstacle is identified in all countries in the region: the difficulty each government presents for foreign investment. Mercado Libre has already moved its headquarters from Buenos Aires to Montevideo, tired of the Argentine government being a problem rather than a solution. The country continues to miss out on the income of workers who export services and retain dollar collections in virtual wallets because they do not want to bring it into the country due to the tax burden imposed by the national government. Social, tax, and social security contributions are lost due to fiscal veracity. If economic regulations are lifted, a person who invoices services abroad could find in Argentina a very advantageous combination since prices are not high. The problem is that incomes do not grow at the same rate. Still, if the income is from abroad, living in Argentina becomes such a convenient equation that it could attract new residents with good incomes. President Milei has clearly identified the problem and seeks to generate a comprehensive reform to modernize, simplify, and urgently remove the country from the enormous crisis it has been stagnant in for over 20 years. However, he finds a lack of vision in the unions and those nostalgic for Peronism, who, despite expressing it so clearly, cannot see it. They only see distrust and short-term vision. Many of the articles in the proposed reform are absolutely urgent, while others may be delayed for a subsequent legislative instance. Still, what all political forces should undoubtedly agree on is to build a signal to send to the world, showing that for Argentina, building a long-term expectation based on the keys that the world looks at to invest is a very valuable asset. 1. Deregulate labor relations to favor hiring and employment urgently. 2. Show a schedule of fiscal goals that allows simplifying and lowering taxes as collection goals and external commitments are met. 3. Provide legal certainty by eliminating the so-called lawsuit industry and the creation of new taxes every year. 4. Model sustainability. Demonstrate the coherence of the previous points in staggered tariff adjustments so that salaried sectors can accompany the process of adjusting prices to their negotiations. If these 4 premises are fulfilled, Argentines can achieve a recovery sooner than expected, especially because there are external factors that could play in their favor if they are able to see what is happening and take advantage of it. They need to exercise their vision and look beyond the daily routine. If they look a little further, the negative trade balance will reverse due to trends in a favorable international context. 2024 is expected to have a probable trade surplus between $25 and $40 billion. And the good thing is that it does not depend on politics. Argentine raw materials are appreciating due to Brazil's drought, and they may have a good harvest. The main gas pipeline is already finished in the first section and would allow a saving of about $4.2 billion. The U.S. Treasury bond is falling, which will make the global cost of money and Latin American currencies appreciate. The knowledge industry exported $8 billion in 2023 with a very depreciated exchange rate, but with the current exchange rate as a stimulus to grow and expand, it could reach $20 billion in exports. The National Bank is no longer obligated to lend money in the form of LELIC or government bonds, so it will have a surplus of liquidity that will have to boost private credit. Banks will have to offer personal, mortgage, and car loans, and financing for entrepreneurs and SMEs will revive. The change in political alignment and having new partners in the world would open doors and markets, especially if the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has someone from the private sector instead of a political activist with no greater ambition than holding a position. Deregulation appeals to the competitive, but is rejected by the rent seeker. It must be remembered that the national government withdrew advertising spending from all media, unleashing the anger of those who depended exclusively on that resource. And now they are seen mobilizing all their communicative capacity to turn public opinion against what is better for everyone. However, since it comes from the demonized new president, they distort the information, manipulating reality to generate more division. Since the advent of social media and their algorithms that detect individual preferences and select content based on them, people are no longer informed as before, but rather influenced. Debating on common channels is avoided, and people choose to follow those who think the same. This creates bubbles of subculture that feed on each other against others and sabotage national projects in which everyone should be united. As in the example provided by football, Argentines should plan big and go for what they are capable of. They need to look further. Once again, let's take a closer look. If Argentine unicorns demonstrate that they are highly skilled human resources, and official reports from the INDEC state that the declared money by Argentines hoarded outside the financial system already exceeds $264.948 billion, what is Argentina waiting for to build confidence in itself? If there's a crisis, there must also be an opportunity. Due to the country's high inflation, coupled with the exchange rate gap, Argentina is one of the 3 cheapest countries in Latin America to live in. In the global ranking conducted semi-annually by the global database Numbeo, it is in 118th place out of 140 countries surveyed. According to platform data, the cost of living in Argentina is, for example, on average 57% cheaper than in the United States. Argentina is a country entering a moment of economic flourishing, with internal resistance due to the seismic shift in the model. Everyone can see it because, for the first time in many years, there is no doubt about the direction the government will take and where President Milei aimed the ship's prow. However, why is it that Argentinians can't see it?